Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to F.E.A.R. You know what's interesting about this game is that because it breaks up the levels, when for the most part so far we've basically been playing a scenario that is completely linear time-wise. We're about to go to a helicopter and probably be in a big fight. But because it takes that time to show a loading screen and break up the game every 30 minutes or so, you are experiencing, people who had just played this game are experiencing what is effectively the way I experience games. I don't know if I'm supposed to shoot this guy or not. Let's see. See, I'm not certain these guys are. Let's just hit this guy. So yeah. He's dropped his gun. Let's go ahead and throw a grenade over there. Reload. And hit that guy. I'm a little short on bullets, so probably wouldn't be a terrible thought to try and get some more. Again, we're at nighttime, we're seeing the city. The city doesn't matter, it's just a small smattering of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 buildings and then a skybox. Clearly they wanted to be more ambitious. They would have wanted this to have taken place throughout the course of many varied locations, particularly since half of the focus here would have been on multiplayer. Let's see, where's the guy? I think he's done. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's taking like 10 bullets. 10 bullets to kill some of these guys. Where one well-placed hit kills a significant amount of this. And this is on easy too, so like if you were playing this on hard and it just doubled the number of bullets needed to kill something, you'd really struggle. These guys are way too armored. So then that makes me assume what really goes on is you just take more damage when you're playing on a more difficult setting. So trying to wait until it looks like they've dropped their gun, because otherwise it's pretty easy to mistake. They could have shot that and electrocuted me. It's pretty easy to mistake the I'm gonna go ahead and choose to switch to a different gun because I'm running out of bullets. These guns do seem like they have some level of Am I hitting this guy? Hmm. And these split paths, like, they're getting so wasteful. But they do sometimes have something you need. I was expecting a bit more of a fight, but I guess we're working our way up to the helicopter landing fight section, and we're not just going to immediately run into that. Probably is going to be a while until we see another creepy thing. For what little impact the creepy things are having. This is crazy. Like, this is the gun I was using before, so I could pick it up. It kind of wants me to pick it up, or I stay with the one I have. I have more bullets, and you kind of need more bullets.
We have an update on the situation at Armacam headquarters. A company spokesperson has confirmed that many employees were still at work when the situation first erupted. No
We're in Armacam.
Since it was founded in 1964, Armacam
I hear a helicopter in the background.
Aerospace defense contractor with revenues approaching $8 billion and almost 60,000 employees worldwide.
$8 billion used to be a lot of money for 15 years ago.
And advanced weapon systems.
So yeah, one of the major problems with recording things with my software, open broadcast software, is that if you don't want to accidentally lose your footage, you have to record it in such a way that it makes a newer style file format, an MKV, and then if you're going to upload it to YouTube, they want an MP4, which is an older style format. The thing there is, so you can automatically, rather quickly, translate the MKVs into MP4s. And if you just save it as a MKV itself. So am I supposed to run towards this helicopter? Like, even in slow motion.
That was ATC security. Are you sure? Oh yeah, I'm sure. Friendly fire? Didn't feel very friendly to me. I think that they were deliberately targeting me. What the fuck is he doing?
Alright, we've got security people now shooting at me, which is sweet. Now we've got people that will die quicker. But why introduce that at this point? Like, why not have the intro section just be a bunch of terrorists or gang members or something? It would be closer to gang members 15 years ago than terrorists. I cannot see anything. So, like, I'm hoping.
This way.
These guys are possibly taking less damage. They seem to be taking about the same amount of damage.
Help me! Take cover! Pin him down! He's over here!
My health is almost out. So we're running into potentially more people.
I'm taking fire!
So it looks like we're going to be fighting larger groups of people, maybe less armored. Maybe. I don't know if there's even a way to get up here. I think he just threw a grenade at me.
Has been neutralized.
Good work. Charlie's men are still looking for the Wade girl. So see if you can locate Ian Hives.
Will do. He's here!
See, we're like hitting two or three headshots there. And it's still not
You okay?
enough. Almost feels like
Covering fire!
major upper body shots. Feels like these are spike guns. Shooting like spikes through people.
Okay.
Wasn't really expecting that. My health is low again, so we're now down to 7. So as I was saying before, that when you're recording for YouTube the way I have it set up, which I think is pretty much the best way to do it, the safest way, so you don't just end up losing 30 minutes to 2 hours of footage, you end up having to take at least a minute break in between the each recording, which isn't enough time to definitely throw you off your game and make it a bit of a frustration point where you potentially aren't going to want to make that next recording and just keep on playing. So I normally wouldn't whine about that, other than the fact that this is kind of exactly the same experience for people who aren't recording, because you get into these whenever you get into a level and you have that load screen, that same thing is happening to you. You're being given this break, or forced into a break
This way!
that you normally wouldn't have chosen to take. He's still alive. Still alive. I like the idea of a spike gun, but they really did nothing to tell us that this was a spike gun, or that it was a super cool, super useful thing. I am just gonna have to pick up every health pack I can find to try and recover. I think we are at the higher place. So I think if I just turn off my flashlight and hit that guy, I can kill him. So kind of a long journey to get almost nowhere. To then try and figure out the next location. I don't mind the variety of enemies. I think there's a better way you could have written a story, though. Like, it would have been pretty easy to have just decided that in the chaos of a group of military clones controlled by Paxton Fettel. The security guards at this facility pulled out guns that they probably should not have, automatic, like military style guns, and decided, look at this glitch. As a 15-year-old game for you. It's excusable here, though. Like, this is also oddly probably one of the creepiest things you'll see in this game. But it's so much more excusable here than it would be in, say, an Assassin's Creed game. So 60 versus about 50. And we'll take that. Music immediately changes when we get in this room. It's kind of an upbeat song, so if this was supposed to be a spooky event, that wouldn't really feel right.
Flashlight. You better check it out. Help me!
Is he down?
I need backup.
Yeah, we're back to
He's here.
a point where it's a little too dark. Having this brightness to our back. And this really is just to kind of show us you're supposed to jump down and cross this way, I assume. And I assume they don't want me to. Like yeah, the shadow play here. Almost feels like I'm gonna need this quick save.
Your signal's breaking up.
Nope, they just wanted me to get from somewhere high to somewhere low, which this probably is an indicator that this is a connecting path that would have potentially gone anywhere. Find a way back up to into the main building as a slight indication of what we're supposed to be doing. But so they wanted to shift back into this section that was rather boring in the first levels. And we have like a fire thing. So I saw that coming, and I was able to run backwards. Thank goodness that was there. So I made a spark, I guess, when I did that. Now my reflexes are permanently increased. And unless I'm supposed to climb up here, which if I am supposed to climb up here, then I would need a valve to turn off the gas. Oh no, it destroyed this over here. That was not enough damage to have destroyed, rocked the whole building. Although in all fairness, if you did get a gas line, so they're going for creepy now. Again, It's an odd twist of going back and forth between creepy and not creepy. It's mood breaking, I guess, would be the best way to phrase it. Is that it just seems to constantly, once you get in one way and feel like you have an understanding of what's going on, you then kind of forget about the other way that the game sometimes is. I may have missed something back there. I'm not going to even really bother. Seems like the game is going to tease us with these split paths more than it has been in the past. At least something's happening now, though. Like, this isn't just, oh, there's two doorways and then they split and then they re-merge back together. Well, here's a valve, but it doesn't work on anything. So you did have to go this way. Yeah, if you got an explosion of a gas line, you can blow up entire neighborhoods, so I wouldn't imagine you would have too much struggle blowing up an entire building if it truly was the case that all the gas broke. Still fussing with the flashlight to see anything. This probably would be a great section just to turn it up a couple more notches, come to think of it. Like, by the time we're at the end of this game, let's just do that. By the time we get to the end of this game, we'll have the gamma back to where it was, and then it will all of a sudden make more sense. We'll give it two more notches on the gamma. That still doesn't look horribly blown out, but it is starting to cross into the line of being a little bit blown out. What it feels like, and they do this with the audio a lot in games, more than the brightness. The brightness seems to be better thought through. But often on the audio, you'll have scenarios where there's just been no attempt to normalize the audio. Normalizing it meaning you're I don't think I could go that way. Normalizing meaning that you're making a special effort to make the loudest part that you're concerned about in the audio. It turns the lowest parts, say the loudest part is negative 80 decibels, which would be a good, I think, thing to normalize to. It's been a long time since I worked with audio. So if the default way it's recorded, the loudest part in the entirety of the game is negative 60, then you would just turn everything up 20 decibels. That makes sense. That's normalizing. There's other people and other ways to do it where you would try to make everything close to negative 80 decibels. That's bad because that ruins what's called the I think that was a visual glitch there, a flash of white, that destroys the dynamic range of the, or perhaps not it's the dynamic range, but the range of amplitude of how loud things are. So you don't want the quietest part to be closer to the loudest part. You just want it to be reasonable. Uh, in the format of video, it's not so much that you are asked to normalize the brightness. You're asked to bring it within what are called safe levels of colors. So a black, which would be like all zeros in the red, green, blue scale, is not what you want. Instead, what you would want is your blacks to be somewhere around 16 for red, green, and blue. So 16, 16, 16. And your whites, you don't want that if it's 256 8-bit color, which nobody would be using that. You don't want it to be the maximum 8-bit number of 255. Instead, you might want it at 230. Reason for that being is those safe colors work on TVs a little bit better. Of course, having the colors be in a safe range still really doesn't fix the problem that's happening here. What's happening here is it's just too dark. It takes just a human eye, and clearly they didn't have enough of an artist or a human eye. Just creepy sound effects.
They left her in darkness. They left her to die.
It's funny, Fenton Pextel, or Fextel, Penton Fextel, whatever his name is, has become this like creepy storyteller, almost like minister bishop of Alma, when it would have been better to hire a voice actress to just have Alma say these lines of dialogue. There's a cowardice in this, clearly. They didn't want us to fight a creepy little girl and shoot a girl in the face 15 years ago. Fairness, in all fairness, they probably wouldn't make a AAA game these days, even now, where you shoot a creepy girl in the face. Although I'm pretty sure that was a joke in one of the Scary Movie series. There's an elevator that enemies will be coming down or something, I'm sure. But had Alma been telling us the story, her story, instead of someone else telling us a story, it only makes sense if you're trying to have kind of a unreliable narrator. And I don't know why introducing an unreliable narrator, that really did nothing, would be desirable in this story, because I assume everything he's saying about Alma and implying about Alma is true. Like, it really wouldn't make a lot of sense for it not to be true. And I don't think it's worth... I think it is, actually. They want me to flood this area so that then I cannot see a thing. I may actually drown here just because I can't work my way around a tiny puddle. Yeah, if I was the writer, I would totally have written him out as a character. Maybe had some assumptions early in the story that there was some big bad guy, but the twist would be he's just another pawn. Almost certainly he is just another pawn. We can hear a considerable amount of splashing as the physics is trying to do its thing without any good programming behind it. I thought for a second there I was seeing a turbine blade, and I'm like, oh no, this game is not going to play well if I have to deal with a a spinning turbine underwater. Yeah, this game cannot handle that. Let's see. We have a power reset function. We have you have to have everything on. There we go. Let's come up here and see what we're gonna see. Some of these boxes clearly aren't reset boxes, so they're not something worth being worried about. And that's an interesting save point because that just puts us back where we were. So the save point triggered, it seems, for no reason. Alright. Well, this is interesting because this is blocked two different ways. And it did turn on the power to the elevator. I would have kind of just assumed that that was going to make some enemies appear. Although it does kind of make sense that there wouldn't be any enemies over in this section because we are far, far from where we should be. So let's target and throw. I'm just gonna try to unload as much as possible on this guy. Of course, when you're slowing down time like this, you probably are almost certainly you're almost certainly giving yourself a faster bullet shooting ability. Is there a better way to say that? Bullets per minute. Like, you're obviously not shooting at the same speed as you normally would. Otherwise, it doesn't really matter that you sped up, slowed down time. It would only then affect your... He just clipped through the floor. Yep. So, yeah, it would just affect your positioning, and positioning is not that important, at least on easy mode. Perhaps it is more important on the more difficult modes. So we're now into Interval 6 Interception, Sayonara Sucker. F.E.A.R combat operate has resurfaced after being temporarily out of contact. F.E.A.R coordinator is tracking Paxton Fettel to the far side of the research. F.E.A.R operative will traverse the research area to intercept Fettel. Let's see if we get any cutscenes here.
Son of a bitch, I thought we lost you. While you were out of contact, I got a read on Fettel's transmitter. He's all the way on the other side of the research area from me. You're gonna have to hustle to intercept.
So So we're just immediately in another fight, which I like that some of the levels do this. They just throw you into a fight, but we are getting a lot of repetition for a 15-year-old game that was mostly a multiplayer game. I think it's fine. I imagine if I went back and tried to play Halo 1, and for me that would be playing Halo 1 for the first time, I imagine it would be somewhat similar, although in all fairness, Halo 1 also had vehicles. We've seen no vehicles here. Halo 1 also seemed to have a lot more Quake-like gameplay style, which we're not seeing here, which that's a matter of taste, I imagine. The only thing I guess I could excuse some of the lacking of variety and the lacking of different things to do would be the fact that this was made by Monolith and not whoever made Halo. Was that 505 Industries originally, I think? Maybe. But then again, there really was no reason why Halo 1 shouldn't have been a massive failure too, even though Microsoft was funding it. So it just kind of feels like there wasn't as much focus on this game as even Condemned Criminal Origins, which came a couple months later, and it almost certainly feels like half of the content here could have been in Condemned Criminal Origins. It's a shame, honestly, that the Condemned series only had Condemned 1 and then Condemned 2, which I think only came out for the Wii. I could be wrong about that. It came out in an awkward way, certainly, where I never got the sequel and never played it. And yet F.E.A.R got 2 pieces of DLC for its first game, and then F.E.A.R 2, and then F.E.A.R 3. In all fairness, now it has been mostly forgotten. And there's nothing here that's so terrible in the story that it couldn't be brought back. Other than the fact that if this was brought to, say, Steam, it then has to compete against a lot of other characters other games or things that look like games at the very least that are released on Steam on a daily basis. Horror games that are just asset flips. You really would have to put a lot of money and a lot of effort into it to take back this genre. And you would have to compete against things like Amnesia, where it's a horror game where you don't have a weapon ever, or almost never have a weapon, which are now more the style. But you wouldn't really have to do too much rewriting. You've got 3 games. Remastering it, re-releasing it as a reboot would be fine, and it would work well, I think, for WB Games to have something that they could release in tandem with the occasional Batman game that they release, or Lord of the Rings game that they release, or Telltale Lego game that they release that are just license of Warner Brothers properties. In a weird way, Warner Brothers Games is really only interested in making video games to promote their movie properties, when frankly they should be more interested, at least that department of Warner Brothers Interactive should be more interested in making video games just straight out, as a secondary source of income as movies become less and less profitable. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.